Dr. Castleberry back with part 3 of our asynchronous dialogue. We're tackling questions and pacing ourselves in epic proportion, looking at questions. We've finished up with some from Jason, and Khalil asks a broader question: what signs, codes, symbols, etc. are found in a text? Well, we can think of a text or an artifact, as we also refer to these things, as a text can be a thing, an idea, a piece of media, a product, uh, as we say, an artifact, a tangible thing, or sometimes it can be idea related, all right? And so a text is a given thing. And now that we've entered this digital age, sometimes there are tangible texts that may not be, physical texts. They are digital texts. And so that is slippery terrain, but it's also a safe word to be able to just describe any given phenomenon that we're studying, all right, and talking about. And so if all texts express some kind of communication, a rock is still a thing. It still has properties. It still is a color, at the very least, and so it can be described, and thus all texts carry certain signs and symbols and codes and descriptions. But advertising text, which is what we're trying to focus on in this course, are particular because they carry deep-seated meanings as well as surface meanings, right? This is what Stuart Hall talks about when he assesses the various ways in which texts are encoded, and then the ways in which we or consumers or audiences decode those given texts. And this leads to confusion sometimes, right? It leads to understanding. It can lead to profitability, but it can lead to confusion sometimes, because different people in different groups interpret the same text different ways, all right? And so then it means different things to different people. And my goodness, how do we keep track of all that? Well, we have a conversation about it. We read about it. We get into it in courses like this one, and it helps us better understand these processes, and understanding them helps us deal with it, right? And when I say deal with it, I mean accurately interpret the communication. We're in the communication business here, and that's what we want to do. Good question. Rosalind asks of chapter 1 of the Berger text, what? Berger talks about advertising as a powerful tool, of which I agree. What are your thoughts on how we might use advertising more effectively in order to influence children in a more positive way, instead of enticing them into greed, right? So the root of capitalism, it's not greed, but profit. The worship of profit, right? Of course, can lead to greediness. I'd say I don't know, how might we use advertising more effectively? There are many things we can do. We just don't. We just it's not in the vocabulary of most marketers. But maybe discounts for PSAs, public service announcements. Maybe even let's speak the language, right, of the profiteer. Tax write-offs for positive advertising, but then we have to agree on a definition of what's positive. Pro community, maybe pro education. I don't know if that would pass. I don't know if it'd cut the mustard. Pro civility ads, all right. So wholesome messages in some form. Maybe they get more of a deduced rate, or something like that. I'm spitballing here. But we don't want to bandwagon, attack advertising too badly. It does great things for us, right? It unites us, connects us, but it can also alienate us, right? At the same time, man, if only I had a text that could talk to me about this alienation business, and help me in decoding advertisements in some way. If only there was some brilliant scholar of the past. Anyway. Plug, right? I'm pointing to Judith Williamson. Decoding Advertisements, of course, people. Not the other book. Destiny has a couple of questions, and more than a couple. I don't had a lot of vivid response here. With ads, fads, and consumer culture, first question, do you think that one day there will not be any more commercials on television, or just select a few on a certain days, right? So limited commercial engagement. We have so many streaming sites now, and we can fast forward our regular TVs. So talking about DVR, what and how will this affect advertising if they limit commercials? Good questions. Okay, food for thought experiment. I would first and foremost say TV won't exist if there's not advertising. Advertising needs television. Television needs advertising. Even if it bugs us all, right? Of course we want to fast forward through the ads. Of course we want to get past it. We want our stories, right? But we need the ads are generating the revenue for the networks. The revenue helps pay for the shows you love, right? So it's an interlocked relationship between entertainment and advertising. Back to Emily's question about pop culture as the center stage in advertising. And so we're never going to see advertising fully go away, but you do see strategic efforts. FX sometimes will premiere shows or have special episodes with they'll say limited. This presentation is brought to you with limited interruption by, I don't know, Bacardi rum or Mercedes-Benz. And then you get most of the episode without interruption, and then you might have huge commercial bumpers at certain points that say like, give me the ad, and then plus some more ad, and they want to make sure you know, the elite company paid X amount of dollars so that I could watch fewer commercials and enjoy my favorite program. I'm now more into this program, and FX for treating me to less ads. So then everyone's winning on the revenue and advertising front. Now I'm feeling more likely to buy that product. Does that make sense? But streaming is replacing. However, it's ads are still appearing on streaming service. Notice the tiers of Hulu. There's a tier on Hulu, the base Hulu, you still get ads. It's just less than normal TV. Then you can pay more to get the ad-free Hulu, get your content quicker, and of course the company then profits from that. And then YouTube is littered with ads, all right? And so the more popular a program on YouTube, are we familiar with this? All of a sudden you get more ads with that. Or you can click an option to make your account open to be monetized using advertising if it reaches a certain threshold of viewer interest. So these advertising will essentially always play some role in a free market program. On page 28, if it doesn't, it's a la carte. It's prestige programming. It's HBO. It's whatever. But even shows on HBO, they have other ways of marketing to us. Okay, so case study example. I'm going to reach way back in time. Show like The Sopranos, super popular. Okay, breaking these boundaries, giving a very adult-oriented drama, serious, fair content on television, and it was more of a almost cinematic experience than a televisual experience in the traditional way of thinking about TV versus film. But they hit ads in that show. Okay, Coke was an enormous sponsor on The Sopranos, and so if you watch closely, the family's always drinking Coke, right? Tony's always getting a Coke, among other things, and they'll even talk about the product. There was one episode where they talk about the superiority of a Coke to, Pepsi or whatever else. Like, we're a Coke family. You think that's not having an impact on the audience? It is. And so there are ways in which certain brands will carry legitimacy, and they will build it into the text itself. Which is, that's as old as television medium, when they used to cut right into a live show and talk about a product. It's just done in a different way, like maybe a little more stylish. Let's see. Let me jump to the Ads, Fads, Consumer Culture, Chapter 8. Just as the example of the perfume bottle on 175, do you really think that Berger is correct in saying, quote, even though we may not consciously be aware that we are reading this word in psychoanalytic theory, seeing it would have some kind of subliminal impact on our psyches and make us more inclined toward sexual activity, end quote? Question mark. When I looked at the picture, that is not what I thought about at all. All right, so 175, let establish context here. First of all, that's one of Berger's excellent chapters in the book, but he's looking at an ad from the, I believe, the 1980s. I have to double check, but it's older ad. It's a print ad. It's essentially the backdrop is sort of a female. We don't even see the full head. We get the like nose down face, and then holding the perfume center image, and then there is a kind of python or snake kind of adorned, and the appearance of the female is sort of fleshly, like it's insinuating that that she's sort of bare skinned. All right, and so what we're to gather there is, we're anything beyond that. I tried to give it some just general description. Anything beyond that, the consumer, the audience viewer, is encoding, right, or decoding from the text. Now, there's a lot encoded or baked in to the text, but it's up to the consumer to kind of deconstruct. So what Destiny's saying is, well, I don't see the overt hypersexuality of some ads, and that could be a fair critique. We could come at it from a completely different strategy, and we could bring in like a theologian, right? A kind of a theology scholar. They might look at that ad instantly, just like Berger. They identify and say, "Hey, that text screams Garden of Eden to me. Forbidden fruit. This is clearly Eve. The snake equals the serpent, the great deceiver, and the perfume would be the fruit." The forbidden fruit. The imagery is there. It's fascinating, but not all ads don't read the same on all audiences, and that's an essential takeaway. In a course like this, we want to recognize it, and also recognize perhaps men, women, children, older viewers each respond differently. And also, here's an important takeaway from the excerpt from Berger, okay? It's important that we recognize this. I'm going to quote again. Seeing it would have some kind of subliminal impact on our psyches and make us feel more inclined toward sexual activity. Key word there, subliminal. All right? So it is not necessarily conscious recognition that such imagery is provoking us in certain ways. All right? And so that's part of the long form argument and critique, but it's also difficult to entirely prove versus entirely disprove. Is that when we're talking about the subliminal role of advertising, it's doing a kind of lower beneath the surface work on us, so that it's not overnight all of a sudden my ideas change, my morals change, my ethics change. It is that there is kind of an implant, kind of like the forbidden fruit, that takes place. And over time, we are gradually seduced, right, to sampling the fruit, or to viewing the world in a different way, viewing advertising in a different way, thinking about not just advertising things, but people things in different ways. So I think that is some of what the author is getting at, the power of advertising. And we can't undersell that notion. I think it's something we should think a lot about, is even simple ads, and sometimes the most simple ads do enormous things, like highly persuasive, volatile texts, doing tons of work. Exciting stuff. We'll try to wrap this up shortly with some more discussion to come. All right, sit tight.